The most dangerous resource in the world is not buried under the desert. It is etched onto silicon, smaller than a fingernail, and manufactured through one of the most fragile supply chains ever created. If that chain breaks, cars stop rolling, data centers slow down, weapons systems stall, banking systems strain, AI development freezes, and the global economy discovers something very uncomfortable. The digital age was built on a physical choke point. The modern economy does not run on oil alone anymore. It runs on tiny pieces of silicon that almost nobody can make. Welcome to the Financial Historian, where money, power, and history collide and nothing is ever as simple as it looks. Every age has a resource that decides who has power. In the 19th century, coal fed the factories, railways, steamships, and steelworks that made industrial empires possible. Britain's rise was not just about clever bankers and naval confidence. It was also about coal, concentrated energy under the ground pulled into furnaces, engines, ships, and machines. Coal turned muscle into industry and industry into empire. Then came oil. Oil-powered cars, aircraft, tanks, shipping, petrochemicals, suburbs, modern armies, and the entire 20th century machine. Control over oil-shaped wars, alliances, coups, inflation, the Middle East, the 1973 oil shock, and the way the United States projected power around the world. Now the strategic resource is changing again. Chips are not powerful because they are rare like gold or because they burn like oil. Sand is not exactly difficult to find. The power of chips comes from the fact that advanced semiconductors are almost impossibly difficult to make and every modern system depends on them. The resource that defines an age is not always the one people can see. It is the one everything else quietly depends on. A microchip is not just a computer part. It is the nervous system of the modern economy. Chips are inside phones, cars, factories, payment systems, satellites, drones, missiles, data centers, medical devices, energy grids, cloud computing, logistics networks, banking platforms, and artificial intelligence models. They inside the machines that guide weapons and the machines that approve mortgages. They're inside the systems that move containers across oceans and the systems that let someone buy coffee with a card. Modern life does not look digital because the physical world disappeared. It looks digital because chips are hidden inside the physical world making it move. The public got a glimpse of this during the pandemic chip shortage. For most people, semiconductors had always been invisible. Then car production slowed, delivery time stretched, used car prices surged, and people realized that even a vehicle with 4 wheels, doors, seats, and an engine could be useless if it lacked the right chip. That was the warning shot. A chip shortage is not just a technology problem. It becomes a production problem, an inflation problem, a defense problem, and a political problem. When chips stop moving, the modern economy does not go analog. It starts malfunctioning. And the most important point in this system is Taiwan, more specifically, Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing Company, better known as TSMC. Most people know Apple, Nvidia, AMD, Qualcomm, and other famous technology names. But many of those companies are designers. They design the future. TSMC manufactures the part that lets the future turn on. That distinction is everything. Designing an advanced chip is incredibly difficult. Manufacturing it at scale with microscopic precision and reliable yields is even harder. A chip design without manufacturing capacity is like an architectural blueprint for a skyscraper in a country with no steel, no cranes, and no engineers. Taiwan produces a huge share of the world's semiconductors and an overwhelming share of the most advanced chips. TSMC sits at the center of that system. Its factories produce the advanced chips used in smartphones, AI accelerators, high-performance computing, and defense-relevant technologies. This is why Taiwan is not just an island in a tense geopolitical region. It is the pressure point beneath the entire digital economy. If the world loses reliable access to Taiwan's advanced chip production, the shock does not stay in technology. It moves into markets, inflation, manufacturing, national security, and state power. The reason this is so hard to replace is that a chip fab is not just a building. It is a living ecosystem of machines, suppliers, engineers, water, electricity, chemicals, software, logistics, and knowledge accumulated over decades. Advanced chips require extreme ultraviolet lithography machines, ultra-pure materials, specialized gases, precision tools, clean rooms, advanced packaging, deep supplier networks, and engineers who understand problems most people cannot even see. One machine may depend on suppliers from the Netherlands, Japan, Germany, the United States, South Korea, and Taiwan. One production process can involve thousands of steps. One tiny error can ruin an entire batch. This is why reshoring is so difficult. Governments can announce factories. Companies can commit billions. Subsidies can be passed. Ground can be broken. Politicians can put on hard hats, which is apparently the official costume of industrial policy. But, you cannot copy Taiwan overnight. Building a fab can cost tens of billions of dollars and take years. Getting it to produce advanced chips reliably is another challenge entirely. Manufacturing excellence is not only capital. It is experience, coordination, culture, suppliers, and repetition. The world spent decades optimizing efficiency and cost by concentrating parts of the supply chain. Now it is discovering that efficiency created vulnerability. That vulnerability sits inside the US-China-Taiwan triangle. China claims Taiwan is its own territory. Taiwan rejects Beijing's sovereignty claim and says its future should be decided by its own people. The United States does not formally recognize Taiwan as a sovereign state, but it has long supported Taiwan's defensive capacity under a deliberately ambiguous policy. That ambiguity was meant to deter both the Chinese attack and a Taiwanese declaration of formal independence. It was a balancing act. Enough support to prevent conquest, enough uncertainty to prevent escalation. But, when the island at the center of the world's most advanced chip production becomes part of great power bargaining, the entire global economy has to pay attention. Recent concern over delayed U.S. arms sales to Taiwan and rhetoric framing Taiwan less as a firm security commitment and more as a negotiating card with China has sharpened anxiety. The worry is not certainty. The worry is ambiguity. If Taiwan's security becomes transactional, the chip supply chain becomes geopolitical collateral. And when the island that makes the world's most advanced chips becomes a bargaining chip, the global economy has a problem. China understands this better than anyone. For Beijing, Taiwan is a sovereignty issue, a nationalist issue, a military issue, and a strategic issue. But semiconductors add another layer. China is one of the largest consumers of chips in the world, but it remains dependent on foreign technology for many advanced components and manufacturing tools. That dependence is a vulnerability. The United States knows it, too, which is why advanced chips and chip-making equipment have become central to U.S. strategy. This is not just a trade dispute. There is a fight over who gets to build the machines that build the future. The United States has used export controls to restrict China's access to advanced chips and the tools needed to make them. The goal is not simply to protect American companies. It is to slow China's progress in military AI, surveillance systems, supercomputing, advanced weapons, and frontier semiconductor production. China, in response, is pouring resources into domestic alternatives, building national champions, supporting research, and trying to close the gap. This is the new industrial battlefield. Not oil fields, not colonies, not shipping lanes alone, but fabs, lithography systems, packaging facilities, software tools, and supply chains. The chip war is also a subsidy war. The United States passed the CHIPS Act to bring more semiconductor manufacturing back onto American soil. Europe has its own chip ambitions. Japan and South Korea are investing heavily. Taiwan is expanding production abroad, including major investments in the United States. But every government is learning the same lesson. The free market discovered that the most important market input on Earth cannot be left entirely to the market. When a product becomes essential to national security, politicians stop calling it just a product. They call it strategic capacity. And once that happens, tariffs, subsidies, export controls, defense policy, and industrial planning return to the center of economics. This is where the historical pattern becomes obvious. Coal was never just coal. Oil was never just oil. Chips are not just chips. They are the material foundation under military power, economic growth, technological leadership, and financial confidence. Whoever controls advanced semiconductor capacity controls part of the future. Not because chips alone win wars or build economies, but because almost every advanced system needs them to function. A serious Taiwan disruption would be one of the most dangerous economic shocks in modern history. It does not require a full invasion to matter. A blockade, a quarantine, missile strikes, port disruption, cyberattacks, shipping insurance panic, energy disruption, or even sustained military pressure could be enough to freeze confidence. The world does not need TSMC to be destroyed for the shock to be massive. It only needs the world to doubt that TSMC can keep shipping. The consequences would spread fast. Advanced chip shortages could slow AI development and data center expansion. Car production could